we leverage these lessons from our past to shape how we respond to the next crises? Getting the next tools, the next innovation, the next technology. We're going to see here today what that looks like.
All right, thanks, Nena, for having an interview with us.
Sure.
So, all right, one of the first questions that I have is your background in anthropology. How's that shaped the way you perceive like being prepared for disasters?
Wow. It really gives a holistic view through history about how we cope with and respond to natural disasters, how we might strategize, how we might use the resources around us to better prepare ourselves to improve our odds of survival.
And like, let's say your experience in the military, like what lessons have you learned?
I think the biggest lesson is teamwork. The biggest lesson is that we have strength in cohesion. Focusing on our collective unit is very important. The Marine Corps preaches honor, courage, and commitment. And that commitment is to ourselves, is to our communities, and to all of us. It's important to know that we have each other's backs, that you're not alone. That's probably the most important thing, is to have that social cohesion.
Yeah. So in your opinion, how can communities build cohesion, and cooperate with each other in a way that's culturally, respectable and also like practically effective?
I think communication is probably the biggest factor. I think organization, in fact, one of the things on the horizon, everyone's really, really interested in tech innovation, things like that. And of course, like everyone wants an app for that, right? So that's what we're looking into right now, is we'd like an app for that.
Yeah.
Right? So you move into a neighborhood, and one of the cultural shifts that we're trying to establish is that sense of personal responsibility and preparation. Because as we see, our administration is making substantial changes in our government, in our agencies, and how those systemic things are going to work and function for us. I think there's going to be more focus on the private sector. There's going to be more focus on preparing ourselves, preparing our communities, and linking together. That social cohesion is going to be really important. So if there was an app that could link us all without trying to figure out, like, where is my local fire department? Where is my local police department? Who do I call if the lights go out?
Yeah.
Who's going to come? Who's going to, what's going on? If there was a single point of interface for that, it would be very, very helpful.
Yeah. And how important is it for people to know that their personal responsibility is their responsibility? If you can just talk to the community and like tell them, what would you say?
Yeah. We joke a lot about adulting. Adulting is getting harder every day as things evolve and change. And part of that adulting is taking on more of that responsibility to prepare. It's taking on the responsibility to know what to prepare for. And that's kind of what my company does a little bit, is we create these comprehensive kits that are, we've thought of everything so that you don't have to, because who really has the time to go and search each and every single thing that they might need? It's overwhelming. It can be very intimidating. You don't know if you're getting the right product, the wrong product. Are you going to need it? Are you not going to need it? Am I wasting my money here? What if I don't have this when I need it? And all of our needs are changing, right? The old box of batteries and a few broken sticks of candles isn't going to cut it anymore. You need power banks. You need communication tools. Early weather detection. There's, plenty of communication radios that are, crank and solar these days. So those things matter, because really it's not if the lights go out, it's when the lights go out. And what are you going to do? What's in your bag? What are you going to reach for? Because in the dark, that's an immediate need. That's not, wait for FEMA to get it together and roll by your house, because that doesn't happen. People, I think, maybe have a false sense of security that that's going to happen, and it's not. It's up to you. That is modern adulting.
Very true. We advocate for that by leaps and bounds.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for that. Thank you for sharing, with our audience, the importance of it. Thank you for what you do.
Welcome to the Disasters Expo 2025. Today is amazing first day of the event. You were one of the keynote speakers today. Thank you so much for dedicating your time, preparing the presentation and sharing your experience, because this is really important, and platforms like this give us the opportunity to actually collaborate, share experience, and come up with solutions that will be better, that will react faster, and will help us to, respond to the disasters and recover in a much faster pace. So could you please introduce yourself to our audience? Tell us, what do you do, and what actually inspired you to embark on this journey and to, become a professional in this field?
So my name is Christopher Calm. I am from South Louisiana. Born in, my family has been there since the 1700s.
Oh, wow.
What got me into this field was I was on active duty with the United States Marine Corps in 2005 when Hurricane Katrina hit the New Orleans area. I was stationed in New Orleans at the time, and after that, a retired Navy captain who was starting up the Homeland Security program at Tulane University came on the base and was trying to get Marines and sailors who were looking to finish their college degrees, and it just kind of clicked that this would be something that I could do. Thinking, being able to respond and react and think quickly, and then also prepare a plan and then execute the plan. So that's kind of how I ended up going into this. And then I worked at the local parish, we call them parishes in Louisiana, the parish county level. I did that for a few years, and then I got on with NASA as a contractor and did that for a few years. And now I work as the emergency management officer at the Michoud Assembly Facility in New Orleans.
Taking into account the fact that natural disasters looks like they are on the rise right now, and they seem to happen, in unprecedented areas, in scales that we did not expect they could actually occur. What would your take be on the personal responsibility of preparing yourself, looking not one step ahead, but maybe 2 or 3 steps ahead?
Yeah, and that's something that I think everybody needs to become more aware of, because in general, and I will say, I have to say a disclaimer that my views are mine and mine alone, and not on behalf of NASA. So I will say that everyone needs to take a very personal approach to disaster, any kind of disasters, any kind of emergencies, because you need to be able to not necessarily rely on not only the federal government, but the local and state governments as well, because everybody is overtasked and overworked and undermanned. So as you think about it as a person, as an individual, and as a family, because hopefully that's the end goal, is you think about not only yourself but your family, that you have everything you need, be self-reliant potentially for 2 to 3 days in the event of any kind of disaster, whether it be earthquakes, tornadoes, hurricanes or snowstorms in the south. Those kind of things don't happen very often, but they do happen. And in the south, we need to definitely be worried about that kind of thing.
Yeah, and natural disasters, they don't send a notification saying, hey, Friday 2 p.m. I'll be here, right?
The thing about that is if you're able to be self-reliant and not and be prepared for yourself and your family, that frees up those responders to be able to help the people who are truly who are less fortunate and need that more urgent response. Instead of them trying to divert resources to helping people who have the ability to help themselves, they are able to focus that energy and those resources to the people who truly unable to help themselves. The indigent, the disabled, those folks who truly need that first response.
Yes, definitely. And looking at the situation with, again, the increase in severity, intensity of natural disasters, what do you think, in your opinion, are the obstacles on the way to make sure that the recovery process runs as smooth as possible? You know, what would you highlight?
In every situation, there's going to be differences. You had the hurricanes that hit North Carolina last year. You know, that area is unique in its infrastructure. They have very small roads. They have very narrow road systems up there. In the South, in South Louisiana, we have a much more robust road structure. However, it does get flooded, whereas theirs got washed away entirely. Ours just got flooded from certain, in certain events. So it's a time, it's that whole time emergency situation where all the people in South Louisiana would have to do is just kind of wait it out. In a couple of days it goes away and the roads are still there. In the North Carolina situation, the roads were not there, they were gone. So I think at the end of the day, if you are able to be prepared yourself and for your family, and again, like I said earlier, kind of just be able to free up those resources to respond to the people who, are more in need or more vulnerable, I guess is a better way to phrase it. That's kind of really, just the best you can do, even if it's having having a case of water that, would free up another case of water going, and then we'd go to somewhere else. Anything you can do to be more self-reliant is ultimately the best thing.
Definitely. And events like this, like Disasters Expo, where you pretty much see so many exhibitors, so many innovations, so many technologies are being, placed together under one roof. That gives potential to new collaborations, to, inspiration for something new to emerge, right?
Absolutely.
In your opinion, how do you think this will help to shape our, community resilience and the response to the disasters in the coming years?
So these type of events are phenomenal because for people in my field, we are so used to dealing with specific contractors, specific vendors who provide equipment and tools and resources. When you come to an event like this, and you can see, there are vendors here who have products and who have services that I wasn't necessarily even thinking about, but as I walk by and I see a booth and I go, you know what, I think I might be able to use that. And I start talking to them and I find out, okay, yeah, no, I can use that. Maybe not necessarily in the way that they are marketing it, but I can use it for my purpose in a different way that, maybe allows me to be able to respond to events on my facility and things like that, and in our community, my community, in a better way to protect my folks.
Yes, and I couldn't agree with you more. It's amazing to see all those people together, collaborating, communicating, smiling, and hopefully creating new connections that will be fruitful in the future. And what would you like to tell to our audience? Just imagine that you have the world microphone. You have a couple of minutes to share.
Always be prepared, be as self-reliant as you are able to be, and never think it can't happen here.
That's so true. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
You could just introduce yourself and your company and what you kind of do.
So I'm Jake Drumm. I'm the owner of Drumm Emergency Solutions. We're kind of a full service training and medical equipment company. We service everybody from homesteaders and farmers to, large government organizations with training and equipment. Do lots of work in between, schools, churches, you name it. We're kind of engaged in that space.
So we were mentioning earlier, there is an increase in like natural disasters and just climate events all over the world. What is people's personal responsibility? What can you say to that what should people do in order to ensure their own safety in light of these events happening?
Sure, like we're all busy, we're all distracted, we have got a million things going on, but as we discussed, prevention, for all of these things is the best medicine, right? And so if you're trying to be kind of a more resilient person, a more resilient family, a more resilient community, kind of looking at existing risk, like things that could potentially occur, whether it's storms, floods, fires, whatever that may be. What problems can you fix now to mitigate the impact from that disaster, or mitigate, the impact from that, pandemic that shows up. Like, you can fix a lot of those problems now. You can solve a lot of those problems now. If you just take 5 minutes to kind of look around and be like, hey, like, there's clearly a huge gap here. Like, we can address this problem.
What would you recommend for a person to keep on them? Like, do you think about like a personal safety kit, like a bug out bag or something?
I do, and it's a tiered kind of thing, right? So I have a business degree on top of my kind of other background experience. So one of the things in business school that they kind of beat you over the head with is the SWOT analysis, right? SWOT. And so as a business tool, we're looking at strengths and weaknesses, kind of things external to us, and then opportunities and threats, things internal, right? And you can do that little SWOT analysis thing for your own self, for your own family, and be like, okay, what are my strengths? Maybe I have this kit already. I have a tourniquet. I have a robust first aid kit. I have good training. What are my weaknesses? Like, do the kids know how to use those things, right? And then what do the neighbors look like? Like, is my neighbor's property a tinderbox? And so when the wildland fire springs up, like, their place is definitely going to burn, which is going to affect my place. How can I, kind of help with that threat, and what opportunities are there for me to help kind of prepare my neighbor? So, for me, the number one thing is awareness and education, like always. And then the supplies come secondary. So I can throw all the medical kits in the world at you. Like, I can give you all the gear, but if you've never touched it, played with it, integrated it, like, who cares?
Sure.
I mean, it's useless.
Yeah.
You really want to weigh the things you're spending your money on with kind of your level of education and comfort.
Sure. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. In your experience, what can you say to what is to come? Like, what do you think our future prospects are in this climate that we exist in today?
Wow, crazy question, right? Yeah. I mean, the world's a wild place. I mean, just look around. I live in East Tennessee. Western North Carolina just experienced a hurricane, which is not really something we do. So we got to learn to deal with a hurricane. We got to learn to deal with a whole bunch of stuff, and still deal with a whole bunch of stuff that would have never, like a week before, been predicted for there. And so now you have people thinking, okay, well, this happened. What could be next? I think it has woken a lot of people up to the fact that the climate is getting a little wild, and we need to expand our mindset about, what the risks are, how we can mitigate those risks. Do we need to be building our house down on the river side? All the things, and like getting the general public kind of schooled up that, hey, things are indeed getting more crazy. So, how do we prepare for those things and just look into the future? We now know that you can have a hurricane in Appalachia. Well, is there going to be another hurricane? Maybe. And how do we prepare for that, right? How do we prepare for the flooding, kind of the loss of infrastructure, supporting systems, all of those things? And so from an emergency manager perspective, and I think that community-wise, that's one of the places it needs to start, is working with your local communities, be like, listen, these are the real risks here. These are the potential risks that, could happen. These are things that everybody should be doing to prepare for those things. And I mean, I've said it a billion times in the past, but building resiliency into yourself, your family, your community, like, that's how you win when kind of this, new, more catastrophic environment.
Yeah.
Being flexible, having the education, understanding that, hey, like, you might not be able to go to the grocery store for like 5 days.
Yeah.
So maybe have something to eat, and maybe have some water, because it's going to be hard for people to get to you. And, you need to be ready to support yourself a little bit.
Yeah. That personal responsibility.
Personal responsibility. And that's really where it all lies, right? And so how do we get all Americans, I guess, to re-engage more personal responsibility and be part of the solution and not part of the problem?
Thank you for what you're doing. The solutions, the innovation that you're providing to, the community, small and large. And I mean, it's really necessary right now in this day and age that we're living in. So, thanks again.
Yeah, thanks for talking to me.
I appreciate it so much, Jake. So we're here at the Disaster Expo 2025. We're here at the Salty Seabag. We're here with William. Tell us about your company.
The Salty Seabag is an emergency preparedness and disaster response company focused on, preparing individual homes for, the unexpected situations that may arise, whether it's nature's fury or, civil unrest, making sure they're prepared, but also giving first responders the ability to effectively respond to an emergency.
How important is it for individuals to take seriously being prepared for any type of unforeseen events?
That's a really interesting question. I've recently read a study that 60% of U.S. households specifically are unprepared for an emergency. And I firmly believe, and the Salty Seabag believes, that individual preparedness builds community resilience. Without that resilience, when an emergency happens, it degrades the confidence and the reactivity of the community, and it makes the whole process of rebuilding that much more challenging. So instead of having 60% unprepared, if we had 80% prepared, everybody's going to rise together and hit those challenges head on.
I heard a quote yesterday. It said, in like a disaster, you're not measured by the aspiration that you have for it, but you're measured by the level of preparedness that you're ready for, so you can have all the hopes and dreams in the world that you'll do this and do that, but the bottom line is, how prepared are you for it? That's what's going to be the true determining factor. What do you say to that?
I say that that's absolutely correct, right? I had a gentleman come by today, and he was like, two today, and they both said, "Hey, I need a tool that's specifically for this. Do you have it right now? Because I need it." And I'm thinking to myself, both of them military folks, and I'm like, of course, because I'm prepared. I have what you need.
Yeah.
Having the appropriate tool for the appropriate moment in the right hands is the absolute most important thing to responding to anything, any type of emergency or event. You have to have the right tool, and it has to be in the right hands.
And how has your experience being in the military helped shape your outlook on the current state of disasters happening in the world? What has it taught you in being prepared?
So I served 21 years in the Marine Corps, and one is the gear, right? The right gear in the right hands. Two is the foresight of knowing I might need X, right? I might need to start a fire, or I might need a screwdriver. I might need whatever that thing is. So instead of limiting your options, you want to expand your options. And then the second thing is, the next thing would be the confidence of using that equipment.
So it's not just about having the right gear, but also knowing how to use it. So you just advocate for being ready, like say you have a first aid kit, knowing how to, for instance, wrap a tourniquet around something, just having those basic skills ready to go.
Indeed, absolutely. It's interesting that you bring up the tourniquet, right? Because you could do a lot of damage. You could do more damage not knowing how to use it than you would if you just left the person alone, right? So yeah, the knowledge is absolutely paramount. And it's great to have the knowledge, but if you don't have the equipment, doesn't really matter either. So it's got to be a collective effort through that foresight of what do I need, how do I get it, and how do I use it?
Yeah. All right. So to change the pace, and what surprised you the most in this current era of disasters that we're experiencing all over the world? Has there been any events, situations that have left a strong impression on you?
Yeah, man. Last couple months of just in the last few months has been eye-opening for what we've been doing, and we've been working on this for a while now. And I'm very excited and proud of what we've built, and I wish that I had some of it ready before. Yeah, I've got family that was affected by the storms in North Carolina. I have family that was affected by the fires in Los Angeles, and I would say that the scariest part about it, how I was talking about earlier, a lot of people not being prepared, is it's only going to get worse. If you look at the weather and the statistics, it's all getting worse. We have more events happening, and the events are stronger.
Yeah.
And they will continue to get stronger, which is only going to lead to more devastation, more displacement of people, and more need for preparedness and response capabilities.
So a final thought, like, what would you like to say? Say, for instance, you're talking to your loved ones, your family, your friends in the camera there. What would you like to tell them about being ready, about pending disasters? What would you just like the audience to know about it all?
I would like everyone to know that individual preparedness builds community resilience. And individual preparedness is indeed an individual responsibility. You cannot depend on others, but if you depend on yourself and you prepare yourself, you can lend a hand to your community and build that resilience and that response. And then just stay safe, my friends.
Thank you so much, William. This has been excellent. Thank you for what you're doing here. Just having the overall awareness that preparedness is the most valuable thing that we can do and how we should take personal responsibility for it all. It's, I think, very valuable, very noble what you're doing.
Welcome to this amazing event, Disasters Expo Texas 2025. We can see so many people. We can see that everyone is so excited. Today is the first day. We just started. Could you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Sure. My name is Rob Borse. I'm a captain with Dallas Fire Rescue and with the City of Dallas. I've been involved in emergency management and emergency response for almost 30 years. I work with state and federal agencies in all aspects of preparation, response, and recovery in natural and other disasters.
Thank you so much for your service. And what actually inspired you to, become an expert in this field, to serve to the community and to help people?
So I think, there was just something within me that wanted to help people. And I think every little boy wants to be a firefighter and a cowboy and an astronaut. But I realized as I got out of college and I entered into the business world, that wasn't as fulfilling as I wanted it to be. And I found the fire department, and the job isn't for everyone, but if it's for you, it's the best job in the world. And then through the fire department, I ended up finding other ways to help. I got on some state teams. I got into intelligence and other forms of helping in a broader scale. And it's everything I've learned, I've just really, really enjoyed. And so the sky's the limit. And I found that I have a penchant and some talent and ability. And I've really, really enjoyed it. It's been very, very fulfilling. And I just want to keep doing it for as long as I'm able.
We see that there are so many disasters on the rise right now, everywhere, not only in the United States, but also worldwide. And taking that into account, what would you like to say to people when it comes down to their personal responsibility, personal preparedness? How important is it?
I think it's crucial. I think that personal preparedness is vital. You cannot just rely on authorities or others to ensure your own survival or your own well-being. So I think that educating yourself in the resources that are available to you and also to the threats that are present in your own community and in your region. So too many people don't think about that. It's not a very pleasant subject, but I think just a little bit of preparation goes a long way. So obviously, if you live in the middle of the heartland, you don't need to worry about a hurricane, but if you live on the coast, you do. And just simple things like having fresh water on hand, bottled water, or having canned food is enormous. If you're able to have a generator for if power goes out, or things such as that nature of just being a little bit prepared if things go wrong. And then just being aware, paying attention to what is going on for natural or other types of disasters, and being ready to take the proper actions and listening to authorities. Too often people do not listen and until it's too late, and that can result in tragic results.
What challenges do you think the industry is facing right now when it comes down to getting ready for a disaster and then recovering it after it? What are the main, like the biggest challenges that you can think of?
The biggest challenge is always money. It's spending money. So every community, every agency has a limited amount of budget, and there are many different priorities that compete for a limited amount of budget that you have to spend on these things. And everybody wants, or everybody says that everything is important. And so to spend money on preparation for disasters that probably will not happen for very often is a very difficult argument to make. And especially when you're a politician, and politicians are in office for only a set amount of time, and you have to, as someone in my field, you have to convince a politician to spend vital budgetary funds on something that will probably not happen while they're in office. And then they can't spend money on something that makes people happy right now. So they won't even get credit for spending that money. Some other official years down the road will get credit for that. That's a very hard thing to convince them to do. And it makes it sound like I'm calling them short-sighted, but I do understand the difficulty, because if they put up a statue or build a bridge or fix the streets right now, it makes everybody happy right now for them. But if they put up siren systems or improve the radios or the phone or whatever, then people don't notice that, and then they don't have money to make people happy right now, and all they do is get criticized. So I understand the difficulty, but it's the nature of emergency preparedness and emergency management. That's the difficulty we face, because people don't want to think about disasters because it's not a pleasant subject.
Yes, and it also requires actually thinking a couple of steps ahead.
Yes, you're playing
not just
chess.
Thinking about right
you
now.
play chess, not checkers.
Yes, definitely. Well, thank you so much. And what would you like to say to our audience? Maybe there is something that you would like to share, like you just shared with the audience here at the Expo. What are the key takeaways that you would like people to walk away with?
Honestly, I think my message today to the audience, and my message to your audience right now, would be preparation is key. And you have to be brutally honest with yourself. People like to put on a rosy picture on everything, and they like to hope that things won't happen to them. And what I like to say is you prepare for the worst and hope for the best, because it won't be bad if you're prepared and then nothing happens. That's much better than if you weren't prepared and then something bad happens. So that's what I would say, is preparation is key, and just be honest that things might happen.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
It's great to meet you. Thank you.
Great to meet you too, sir.
We're here at the 2025 Expo, and would you please kindly introduce yourself and tell our audience a little bit about what you do?
Sure. My name's Kevin Fetterman. I'm a division chief with the Orange County Fire Authority. As part of my career, I've been in the fire department for 30 years and have had the opportunity to deploy to lots of national disasters: Puerto Rico, Florida, Louisiana, Kentucky, Colorado, Washington, Hawaii. I've been to a few different places and have got to see a few different operations. I was a keynote speaker at this event. And so I've had a few opportunities, and this was a good opportunity to meet with a lot of other partners in search and rescue and other folks in disaster response. Just a great opportunity to collaborate, really.
Yeah, okay. So in these last few years of seeing disasters happen, has anything surprised you?
I think what we all natively know is that disasters seem to be increasing in severity and frequency. I think that a lot of the charts and information, the science behind it, is that they are increasing in severity. And so that should lead us all to be better prepared, both from at a local level, state level, federal level, individual responsibility. The ones that I see continue to get more severe, and I don't recall them occurring like that in the past. I think the fires in LA are a good example. The conflagration that occurred. Every hurricane that I go to seems to be worse than the previous one. So I think it's call to action to take our intent and move it to action on being better prepared.
So what could you say to the average person on being prepared? What can they do? What accountability or responsibility can they take upon themselves in order to make sure that they are okay in light of an unforeseen event?
Sure. So certainly there is a tremendous amount of effort going on at the local, at the state, at the federal level to make sure people are protected, and there are resources that are gonna be coming to assist. But it does take time. It takes time for resources to move. It takes time to get those people, overhead, equipment activated and get them into the theater of operations to help. I'll say what we always say. What we say at the Orange County Fire Authority is be prepared. Be ready, be engaged, be situationally aware, know what's going on, have resources that can sustain you for several days, because it is going to take time for help to arrive, right? So there's a large emphasis on individual preparedness. That's very, very important, right? Yes, there is help. The local government, state government, federal government prioritize. This is an important thing. But at the same time, there needs to be a focus on individual responsibility.
Yeah. And so we're here at the Disaster Expo. Have there been any innovative technologies that you think that can be used, especially you mentioning that you're in Orange County, which is just seems to be at just a higher risk,
Yeah.
or especially fires, What kind of technologies have you seen here that can maybe help to mitigate that or to help just deal with it in general?
So our fire authority tends to be very innovative. My fire chief, Brian Finnessy, is very big into innovation, making sure we're very well prepared. Our whole executive team, starting with Chief McGovern, they're all really focused on making sure the organization is prepared. And that looks like innovation. So that we work closely with our information technology division. We're constantly looking at what innovation is available. How do we become better and faster at our responses? How do we send more appropriate equipment? Shows like the Disaster Expo bring all the functionality and capability and the technologists together, and you really get to see kind of all the options out there. 5 years ago, we wanted fire departments and disaster response organizations wanted one common operational dashboard to work from. Now we have 1,700 common operational dashboards because everybody went out and made one. So I think what right looks like and what success looks like is coordination technology, coordination software, communication software. And I think there's lots of examples here that kind of make that better. There's lots of inputs of information. I mean, you can go on your smartphone and find lots of information. What we have to do is kind of like reconcile that down to actionable information, so then we can take local responders and we can engage them. We can support with state and federal resources, and they can all be coordinated and not working in silos, if you will. So
is that something that needs to be prioritized, in light of our current circumstances?
I think it does, and I think it is. We all need to have this continuous improvement mindset, right? Your business, my business.
Yeah.
We have to be ensuring that every time we respond to a disaster, when we get back, we're looking at how can we do that better.
Yeah.
Organizations, local, state, federal, need to be looking at that. How can we do operations better? How can we be more efficient, more coordinated? And I think there is an effort to do that, but it needs to continue, and we need to focus on that. We're at that space and time where we can be better at what we do. It's largely decisions too, right?
So is there anything that you would like, again, the average Joe citizen to know when it comes to being ready for disasters? Is there anything you'd like to say to them?
What I would say is, local, state, federal governments are working together. There's a tremendous amount of effort that occurs to make sure there's a coordinated, timely response. And, people need to be engaged at their own level. They need to be individually responsible and stay informed. Talk to their elected officials, prioritize disaster preparedness, response, and recovery. I think we all know that disasters are increasing in severity. I think the science is there, severity and frequency. And so it just behooves us to be better prepared.
I heard a quote yesterday. I'm just going to repeat it. It's like, in the event of disasters, you don't rise to the level of your expectation, but you fall to the level of your preparedness.
And that's true. And, in a lot of cases, one of the quotes that I like to use a lot is, what are you going to do on Monday? Meaning, we've had a lot of professionals that were here, a lot of people coordinating and collaborating. Now, on Monday, how do we take that intent and turn it to action, right? That's what is everybody going to do on Monday? What are the individual homeowners and the residents? How are they going to change their perspective and be better prepared? how do local, state, federal governments this week, how do we be better prepared? And I think we just have to put a focus on it and continue to shine the light on it, continue to have the conversation. There are lots of opportunities to do better. And that starts by looking at it, talking at it, communicating, getting out of silos, and there's lots of opportunity to be better.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us, letting us know the innovative technologies and what you do. Thank you again for just being here and providing solutions and helping to, inform and deal with these disasters that we see increasing.
Sure. Well, it's certainly a pleasure to be here and be a keynote speaker. I really appreciate the opportunity. Anytime we can get the message out from a response perspective, when it's blue sky day, when there's no disasters occurring, better to do that now, better to have the how are you, and then when a disaster occurs, then there's already a relationship. It is incredibly important to have relationships at the local, state, and federal level to know who to call when you need help and when you need to deconflict a problem. And those relationships and that communication start now.
That's exactly right. Well, thanks again.
Well,
I really appreciate it. Likewise.